Hello, it's Friday, at least here in the States. We're going into the weekend. So I want to ask yourself, what'd you do today? What are you doing tomorrow? Are you serving the system? Or are you serving yourself? 'Cause that's a very good thing to look at because we get so involved in our daily, whether it's work week or our life, that we tend to push everything else back that's we're not dealing with at the time. We've got whether it's planning a big job or planning some things around the house. You've got jobs to do around the house, or you've got other things going on. There's always going to be a plate full of things to do for you, for everybody. And that's just the way life is. And that's how it keeps sucking you back. You might get a little freedom and you might say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on exploring within myself because that's important. But it's always going to take a back seat to everything else that occurs in your life, whether it's bills or your relationship or your family or your job, because you have to support yourself in the system. You have to support your family in the system. You have to support your home or the place that you live. You have to eat, sleep, that sort of thing, drive. You have to pay insurance, all that sort of thing. So all those things are just basically you're wearing them. Those are things that are living off of you. Those are your responsibilities. And you're going to have to constantly focus on them. And there's always going to be something that comes up, whether they didn't accept your insurance payment or they raise the taxes on your home. You're never going to have this bliss that you somehow dream of. Everybody's going to think, well, if I just did this, then this would be much easier. If I won the lottery, I'd have all that money, that I wouldn't have any worries. No, then you'd be worried about the money. And then also you'd worry about, okay, if you could afford to have everybody do those jobs that you really think suck during the day. I mean, the things that you have to do, even around the house or to your own vehicles, you think, well, I can't do that. I got to pay somebody else to do that. But the only reason you do them a lot of times is because you can't afford to pay somebody else. If you thought you had the money, well, you can't always trust somebody else doing the job because how do you know they did it right? You don't want to be stuck somewhere down the road in the middle of the night and have your car break down because it wasn't fixed right. So there's always going to be this I call it a barrage of things that are going to be happening into your life. And those are the things that you put aside. It's like, oh shit, I really don't want to have to replace that sprinkler pipe in my yard that's leaking, or I really don't want to have to fix this thing on my vehicle. I'm kind of trying to put it off. I'm just blaming it to get it to a certain point. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have that. And what we all do, and I've done the same thing in the past. You're like, oh, well, if I could, you're just hoping things will get better. I hope things will get better. I can win some money or make some more money at work. I can get a raise or better benefits or, whatever. You're always hoping for that. And hope is like a drug. Called it before. People say they call it hopium because you're always kind of banking on that. That's in the background. So you can think, well, I'll just, you know, if all else fails, maybe I could do this. Well, don't depend on that. That's just another part of the illusional drug that sucks you into this system. So you're so overwhelmed with all this outside interference, is what I call it, that you'll mind to that instead of taking responsibility to look within, because you're not getting anything out of that. That's not going to pay your rent. That's not going to make a car payment. It's not going to pay for your registration or any of the repairs around the house. Therefore, you feel like you've been forced to do this other thing because you don't have time for this. This is always going to be the last thing on your plate for most people. And that's the way the system kind of put you in that position. And it's going to continue to put you in that position. And the farther you go down the road, it doesn't get easier in that way. It gets easier for you to see what's happening, the deception, but that doesn't mean it makes it any easier on you to deal with the situation. You still have to go through the motions. You still have to do those jobs, but you can see through the smoke and the mirrors. And um, a lot of times, because if you're going down a path and looking within yourself and trying to find truth and that sort of thing, you're not going to be the popular person. And and I'll tell you this from experience and from the experience I get, the experiences I hear from other people that have responded to me and asked questions and that sort of thing. People in general don't want to hear your story. They don't care because they have no interest in it. That's just the way things are. Whether it's your wife or your husband or your kids or people at work, they don't give a shit. They don't really care about your experiences because most people are into their daily grind. They're hyper focused on this, what's going on in the system, in the game, and they can give a shit less about what else is going on within in your life. That's because they're under the spell. And that spell is so good that it'll just keep sucking you back into it. Whether, even if you're really on a good path and you keep, you're mindful about spending time doing this and you kind of let it slip a little bit because you've got other responsibilities and you'll almost forget it. That's how strong this force is that sucks you back in. It's so strong and you've been so well trained that that's your go-to. You just default back to it. You're going to continue to keep defaulting until you change that. And it's very difficult to change that. So you're going to keep going back and back and back. And your outlook will eventually start to begin to change. So when you're talking to people and you just basically say what you mean, they're going to be like, oh, well, aren't you being negative, Nancy, or whatever. They're going to say that you're being negative because you see through the bullshit, because that's your perspective now. When other people aren't going to have that same perspective that you have, because they're still looking at it within that bubble of illusion. They're looking at the smoke and mirrors and thinking, well, that's real. Well, of course it's real. The news said it's real. Why wouldn't it be real? They're not all going to lie to me, not all 37 channels. They're not going. But then I went to the alternative and they were kind of saying the same thing. Okay. Well, that's the way it is. But people that go against the grain are not going to be the popular ones because you're not believing like the majority believes. So there's like the majority of people here, and they all believe what the mainstream media says, and then you have the far left, which is just kind of going off on their own, and then you have the alternative right, which will say they'll still dwell on everything that happened 5, 10, 20 years ago. And they're going to tell you all the new things that are happening. Well, the president did this, and the other country did this, and this is all wrong. You know it's all wrong. All they're going to do is list the problems. That's all they ever do. They talk about the problems all day long. So how is that helping you? It's not helping you. This does absolutely nothing but add to your plate. But guess what? All those little stations or those little podcasts or whatever, they're making bank. They got all the they got all the commercials on there, and they have backing, financial backing and everything. They're doing really well because misery sells. They want to sell you that. And they are, because people are tuning in droves. Well, this is alternate. This isn't like Fox News, or this isn't like CNN, or this isn't like MSNBC. This is right wing. And so these guys, they really know because they're not going to lie to me. Oh yeah? Well, how do you think they're selling this stuff? They're going to tell you what you want to hear to keep you tuning in. Well, they talked about how bad it was, and they did this to us 5 years ago. That's bullshit. We got to do something about it. Yeah, nothing's ever going to get done about it. You know that. You really know it's not going to get done. Okay, why keep talking about it? We know what happened. It's not going to fix anything. And do you think the powers that be didn't already know about it when it was happening? Well, of course they did. But they're not going to do anything about it. That's the thing. When you're in the game will even show you the problems. They'll even show you who's responsible, but they won't fix anything. That's the game. The people that make the rules don't follow the rules. The rules are only meant for the majority, us. We're the rule followers. They make the rules for us. And they'll even tell you who was responsible for the crime. They'll talk about it day and night. Oh, yeah, we're going to do something about that. They never do anything about it. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you're on the right or you're on the left politically, it's all the same coin. It's just two sides of the same coin. The ones that are giving the orders to both sides are in the same house. It's like going to a casino. You're going to get wrong bettors and right bettors, whether if it's on the craps table or whatever. Either way, the house is usually going to win. That's the way this is. So basically, we live within a large gambling facility, and we're buying into it every time. You could be lied to on the news or whatever hundreds of thousands of times during your lifetime, and you're still going to tune in every time something. Oh, I got to find out what's going to happen. Oh, somebody's going to pay this time. Oh yeah, because this guy said they're going to pay, so they're going to pay. Right now, they're unleashing all these problems. You can list stolen money day and night, our tax-paying money, whatever. But unless somebody's held responsible for it, you might as well not even tell anybody because it doesn't matter. And that's the joke that's on us. And that's why it's no different from your daily life. You go to work, you might have an asshole boss, okay? And you put up with the shit because you figure, well, I need a job and I've got these good benefits and this and that. So you put up with the shit. You see what's going on every day. They might promote somebody that doesn't have any experience and pay them more than they pay you, the same type of job that you do. And yet you put up with it. It's no different from what you put up with every other day. This is the game. I'm just trying to point out things that happen in the game that you see every day, but you tend to glaze over it. You accept it for what it is and you move on. Why? Because you feel you need to, because you feel that you're in a situation where you don't have a choice. Well, you do. You really do have a choice, but you have to put forth the effort. You have to put forth, put some time into it. You don't really have to spend a lot of time on it. I spend most of my time when I'm already either going to sleep or waking up or whatever. That's the time that I spend. And beyond that, you do what you have to do. I understand everybody has to be here every day, and they have responsibilities. I have them, you have them, we all have them. So there's no excuse not to do something that you would really want to do. If this is important to you, then you will find time. It's just like anything else. I'm not asking anything from anybody. I'm only asking for people to put in to help themselves. And when you help yourself, you help everybody else. So I wanted to cover a couple things. And another thing, people just get worried about things. Well, worrying about something is not going to fix the problem. It's not going to make the problem any better. But that's kind of where I wanted to go because here we are for the weekend. A lot of people are either off work or they work somewhere else or they have a lot of responsibilities at home. But while you're working on these, which I do all the time, in the back of my mind, I'm working mentally on other things. And there's no time where you usually can't do something like that unless it's a really mentally challenged uh, event or whatever job that you're doing. But, we're all here, we're all in this situation. So when you have time, I'm just saying, utilize that time to your advantage. I know it's easy when, you want to sit down and you'll relax and watch TV or look at your phone or whatever else, but I'm just trying to um, put a reminder out there that what really matters, because I think most of us out here, at least the ones watching this channel, are pretty fed up with the bullshit. We're fed up with all of it. And that's kind of what makes us unpopular with a lot of the people, especially the people in our families, because they don't understand. And that's another thing. When you have families and you have other relationships, people don't understand your perspective and your viewpoint. So it makes it more difficult. You can't talk about it. Like I said earlier, people don't give a shit about your experiences for the most part. They'll listen to them, but it's not going to, they're not going to give you much feedback. You're like, or they'll listen to you while they're on their phone, which means they're not listening. That's that's the way things are nowadays. So, um, but yeah, I mean, continue to share your experiences if you choose to, and that sort of thing, because it does allow me more insight into things, and also hopefully I can share something with you that would help you down the line.